Beyond the vast sea, there may I lie. Each day and night, thy quest is...
Our tale resumes in the Grand Hall of Winterfell, where Jaime Lannister, the Kingslayer, stands alone, his golden armor glinting in the torchlight. He is surrounded by the stern faces of the Northern Lords and the Targaryen Queen. The air is thick with tension, the silence broken only by the crackling of the hearth. Daenerys Targaryen, the Dragon Queen, her silver hair cascading over her shoulders, fixes Jaime with a steely gaze. She recounts the stories her brother Viserys would tell her as a child, stories of the man who murdered their father, the Mad King. Her voice is cold, her anger palpable. Jaime, his face a mask of stoicism, does not deny his past deeds. Instead, he explains his reasons for abandoning his sister Cersei and coming to Winterfell. He speaks of Cersei's lies, her refusal to send her armies north, and his own decision to fight for the living. His voice echoes in the silent hall, his words hanging heavy in the air. The room erupts into murmurs. Sansa Stark, the Lady of Winterfell, looks to her advisor, Tyrion Lannister, who had vouched for his brother's intentions. But it is Brienne of Tarth, the Maid of Tarth, who rises to speak. Her voice is firm, her loyalty unwavering. She speaks of Jaime's bravery, his honor, and the life he saved, her own. Her words sway Sansa, who trusts Brienne implicitly. Jon Snow, the King in the North, agrees, stating they need every man in the upcoming battle. Daenerys, though visibly displeased, concedes to their judgment. Jaime is allowed to stay, to fight. As the hall empties, the tension dissipates, leaving Jaime alone in the room with his thoughts and the weight of his past. And so our scene ends, setting the stage for the trials to come. In the dimly lit forge of Winterfell, we find Gendry, the blacksmith, laboring over a piece of metal. The rhythmic clanging of his hammer against steel punctuates the air, a stark contrast to the looming silence outside the castle walls. Amidst the sparks and shadows, a figure approaches. It's Arya Stark, her face a blend of determination and curiosity. Gendry, his face smeared with soot and sweat, looks up to find Arya watching him. He's working on a weapon, a special one, designed to Arya's specifications. The weapon, much like Arya herself, is unique and deadly. Arya breaks the silence, her voice steady but laced with an underlying concern. She asks Gendry about his encounter with the White Walkers at the Battle of the Seven. It's not just idle curiosity. She wants to understand the enemy, to know what they're up against. Gendry, pausing his work, recounts his harrowing experience. He speaks of the terror, the cold, and the relentless march of the dead. His words paint a chilling picture, adding to the gravity of the impending battle. Arya listens, her gray eyes reflecting the flickering forge light as she absorbs every word. There's a shared understanding between them, a mutual respect born out of survival and resilience. They are both warriors in their own right, preparing for a battle that could be their last. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows across the snow-covered grounds of Winterfell, we find ourselves in the God's Wood. The ancient weirwood tree stands sentinel, its blood-red leaves rustling in the wind, its carved face a silent witness to the conversation about to unfold. Jaime Lannister, the Kingslayer, steps into the clearing, his golden hair catching the last rays of the setting sun. His gaze is drawn to the figure waiting by the weirwood tree, Bran Stark, or rather, the three-eyed raven. Bran, his wheelchair nestled against the roots of the weirwood, turns to face Jaime. His eyes, once full of youthful curiosity, now hold an ageless wisdom. He doesn't show any anger or resentment towards Jaime, the man who pushed him out of a window and changed his life forever. Jaime, visibly uncomfortable, breaks the silence. He attempts an apology, his voice heavy with regret, but Bran interrupts him, stating that he's no longer Bran Stark, but the three-eyed raven. He speaks of the past, present, and future, of his new role as the memory of the world. Bran's words hang in the air, a stark reminder of the transformation he has undergone. He tells Jaime that his actions, however cruel, were necessary for him to become the three-eyed raven. He holds no grudges, for he sees the larger picture, the battle for the living. Jaime is left speechless, his guilt momentarily replaced by awe and confusion. He looks at Bran, then at the weirwood tree, its carved face seemingly mirroring his own surprise. As Jaime leaves the godswood, the camera lingers on Bran, his gaze unfocused, his mind already elsewhere. The wind rustles through the weirwood tree, whispering secrets only the three-eyed raven can hear. As the night deepens over Winterfell, we find ourselves in the warm glow of a hearth, where Tyrion and Jaime Lannister share a moment of quiet brotherhood. The flickering firelight dances in their eyes, casting long shadows that echo the complexity of their shared history. Jaime, his golden armor replaced by simpler attire, leans against the stone mantel, a goblet of wine in his hand. His gaze is distant, lost in the flames and the memories they stir. He speaks of their family, of the father they disappointed, and the sister they both loved and feared. His voice, usually so confident, wavers with a mix of nostalgia and regret. Tyrion, seated across from Jaime, listens intently, his own goblet untouched. He has always been the listener, the observer, the one who sees the truth beneath the lies. He acknowledges their complicated family dynamics, but his focus is on the present, on the battle that looms on the horizon. Jaime expresses his disbelief about the army of the dead, his skepticism a thin veil for his underlying fear. The concept of fighting against an enemy that doesn't tire, doesn't fear, and doesn't stop is daunting, even for a seasoned warrior like him. Tyrion, ever the pragmatist, counters Jaime's disbelief with his own faith. He speaks of Daenerys, of her dragons, and her determination to save the Seven Kingdoms. His faith in her is unwavering, his loyalty unquestionable. He believes in Daenerys, not just as a queen, but as the leader who can guide them through the darkness. Their conversation, filled with shared memories and differing beliefs, paints a poignant picture of two brothers, bound by blood and history, standing on the precipice of war. As the fire crackles and pops in the silence, they drink to the past and to the uncertain future. As dawn breaks over Winterfell, we find ourselves in the private quarters of Daenerys Targaryen. The room is bathed in the soft light of the morning sun, casting a warm glow on the Dragon Queen as she gazes out of the window, her thoughts as turbulent as the winter winds outside. The door creaks open and Sir Jorah Mormont steps in, his bare sigil cloak a stark contrast against the Targaryen reds and golds of the room. He approaches Daenerys, his loyalty and concern evident in his weathered face. Jorah, ever the voice of reason, speaks to Daenerys about Tyrion. He acknowledges the hand of the Queen's recent mistakes, but emphasizes his intelligence and strategic mind. He urges Daenerys to forgive Tyrion, reminding her of the crucial role he plays in their cause. Daenerys listens, her expression unreadable. She values Jorah's counsel, but her trust in Tyrion has been shaken. Yet she doesn't dismiss Jorah's words, her silence a testament to her willingness to consider his advice. Jorah then broaches another sensitive topic, Sansa Stark. He suggests that Daenerys should try to make amends with the Lady of Winterfell. He speaks of the importance of unity, especially in the face of the impending war. Daenerys turns to Jorah, her eyes reflecting the conflict within her. She is a queen, a conqueror, but she is also a leader who understands the value of alliances and trust. Jorah's words have given her much to ponder. As Jorah leaves, the camera focuses on Daenerys, her figure silhouetted against the morning light. She looks out of the window once more, her mind filled with thoughts of Tyrion, Sansa, and the battles to come. Within the stone walls of the Great Hall, a meeting of queens takes place. Daenerys Targaryen, the Dragon Queen from the east, and Sansa Stark, the Lady of Winterfell, find themselves in a rare moment of quiet amidst the brewing storm. Daenerys, her silver hair a stark contrast against the dark northern furs she wears, initiates the conversation. She speaks of Jon, their shared affection for him, and his unwavering loyalty. Her voice, usually commanding, is softer, more conciliatory. Sansa, her auburn hair catching the light from the hearth, listens attentively. She acknowledges Daenerys' sentiments about Jon, adding her own insights about her brother's character and his decisions. Her tone is respectful yet firm, a reflection of her growth as a leader. The conversation then shifts to the North, its people, and their fierce desire for freedom. Sansa, the North's staunchest defender, expresses her concerns about its future. She speaks of the sacrifices her family and her people have made, her words a testament to her resolve to protect her homeland. Daenerys, moved by Sansa's passion, assures her of her intentions to defeat the Night King and bring peace to the Seven Kingdoms. They seem to reach an understanding, a mutual respect born out of their shared responsibilities as leaders. However, the moment of accord is broken when Sansa poses a difficult question. What happens to the North after the war? What happens when Daenerys claims the Iron Throne? The question hangs in the air, a reminder of the political complexities that remain amidst the battle against the dead. As the day wears on in Winterfell, a lone rider approaches the castle gates. The Winterfell guards, their breath fogging in the cold northern air, watch warily as the figure draws closer. It's Theon Greyjoy, his face hardened by the trials he's endured, his eyes reflecting a determination born out of redemption. The gates of Winterfell creak open, revealing the familiar courtyard, its stone walls echoing with memories of a simpler time. Theon dismounts, his gaze sweeping over the castle that was once his home, his prison, and now his sanctuary. Sansa Stark, the Lady of Winterfell, steps forward to greet him. Her face, usually composed, betrays a flicker of surprise and relief. Theon, the boy who grew up with her, the man who betrayed her family, and the friend who saved her life, has returned. Theon, his voice steady but laced with emotion, pledges his loyalty to Sansa. He offers to fight for Winterfell, to stand with the Starks in the battle against the Night King. His words are not just a pledge, but a promise, a vow to protect the home and the people he once wronged. Sansa, moved by Theon's sincerity, accepts his pledge. In her eyes we see a mix of emotions, surprise, gratitude, and a hint of sorrow. She understands the weight of Theon's words, the depth of his remorse, and the strength of his resolve. As dusk descends upon Winterfell, the castle's gates creak open once again. This time it's Tormund Giantsbane, Beric Dondarrion, and Edison Tollet who arrive, their faces etched with the grim news they bring. Their arrival brings a sense of urgency, a stark reminder of the enemy marching towards them. Jon Snow, his face hardened by the weight of his responsibilities, greets them. The news of the fall of the last hearth hits him like a punch to the gut. The reality of the Night King's advance is no longer a distant threat, but a looming inevitability. A war council is quickly convened in the Great Hall of Winterfell. Jon, Daenerys, Sansa, Arya, Tyrion, and the others gather around the map of the Seven Kingdoms. The tension in the room is palpable, the stakes higher than ever. Jon takes the lead, his voice echoing in the silent hall. He speaks of the Night King, the army of the dead, and the threat they pose. His words, though grim, are not without hope. He speaks of their own strengths, the dragons, the dragon glass, and the united front of the living. Daenerys, her face a mask of determination, adds to Jon's strategy. She speaks of her dragons, her faith in their power, and her readiness to use them against the Night King. Her words are met with nods of approval, her resolve strengthening their own. The War Council continues late into the night, each leader contributing, each voice heard. Strategies are formed, plans are made, and roles are assigned. The battle against the Night King is no longer a distant threat, but a reality they are ready to face. As the moon rises over Winterfell, casting long, eerie shadows across the castle grounds, we find Arya Stark in a quiet corner of the courtyard, her hand gripping the hilt of her new weapon. Her face is a mask of concentration, her mind focused on the battle to come. The silence is broken by the crunch of boots on gravel. Sandor Clegane, known as the Hound, steps into the moonlight. His scarred face is even more intimidating under the ghostly glow. his eyes reflecting a hardness born out of a lifetime of battles. Arya, undeterred by his imposing presence, acknowledges him with a curt nod. Their conversation is brief and tense, a reflection of their complicated past. The Hound, in his gruff manner, questions Arya's readiness for the war to come. Arya, her voice steady, assures him she's not the little girl he once knew. Their terse exchange is interrupted by the arrival of Beric Dondarrion, his eye patch a stark contrast against his weathered face. Arya, upon seeing Beric, softens slightly. Their past encounters, though fraught with danger, had also been filled with lessons of survival and resilience. Beric greets Arya, his voice carrying a note of respect. He acknowledges her growth, her transformation from a young girl into a formidable warrior. Their reunion, though brief, is a reminder of their shared history, their survival against the odds. As the night deepens over Winterfell, we find ourselves in a cozy room where a fire crackles merrily in the hearth, casting a warm, inviting glow. Gathered around the fire are Tyrion and Jaime Lannister, Brienne of Tarth, Podrick Payne, Tormund Giantsbane, and Ser Davos Seaworth. The mood is surprisingly light, a stark contrast to the tension that hangs over the castle. Tyrion, his goblet of wine in hand, initiates the conversation. He speaks of battles fought and won, of kings served and betrayed. His stories, though tinged with humor, carry an underlying note of melancholy, a testament to the trials he's endured. Jaime, Brienne, and Podrick join in, their tales adding to the tapestry of heroism and survival. Even Ser Davos, the Onion Knight, shares a story or two, his voice carrying the wisdom of his years and experiences. The room fills with laughter and camaraderie, the shared stories serving as a temporary respite from the impending battle. The fire crackles, the wine flows, and for a moment they are not just warriors preparing for war, but friends sharing a moment of peace. The highlight of the evening comes when Tormund, his wild hair illuminated by the firelight, recounts the tale of how he earned the name Giant's Bane. His story, as outrageous as it is entertaining, leaves the room in stitches, his theatrics adding to the hilarity. As the scene concludes, we are left with the image of our group, their faces lit by the fire, their laughter echoing in the room. The story continues. The bonds forged in the firelight, a beacon of hope in the face of the approaching darkness. In the quiet solitude of the forge, amidst the cooling embers and the silent tools of war, we find Arya Stark and Gendry, the blacksmith. The room, usually filled with the clamor of metal and fire, is now hushed, the tension between them almost tangible in the dim light. Arya, her face a mix of determination and vulnerability, breaks the silence. She speaks not of war or weapons, but of life and its fleeting moments. Her words, though unexpected, are sincere, a reflection of her desire to seize control of her fate. Gendry, taken aback by her candidness, watches her with a mix of surprise and admiration. He sees not just the skilled warrior, but the woman Arya has become. His response, though hesitant at first, is guided by his long-standing affection for her. Arya, ever the initiator, bridges the gap between them. She reveals her desire to experience intimacy, to know what it feels like before they might die in the upcoming battle. Her words hang in the air, a bold admission, a silent question. Gendry, after a moment of stunned silence, responds not with words but with action. He meets her halfway, his actions a silent acceptance of her proposition. They come together, two people seeking comfort and connection in each other amidst the looming threat of war. In the heart of Winterfell, within the warm, flickering glow of the hearth, a moment of profound significance unfolds. Gathered around the fire are Jaime Lannister, Brienne of Tarth, Tyrion, Podrick, Tormund, and Ser Davos, their faces illuminated by the dancing flames, their hearts heavy with anticipation. Jaime, his golden hair reflecting the firelight, stands with a solemn expression. His gaze is fixed on Brienne, her blue eyes wide with surprise and a hint of apprehension. He holds a sword in his hand, its polished steel gleaming in the firelight. With a voice steady and clear, Jaime proposes to knight Brienne, to fulfill her lifelong dream. His words, though simple, carry a weight of respect and admiration, a testament to the warrior Brienne has become. Brienne, usually so composed, is taken aback. She looks at Jaime, then at the others, their encouraging nods giving her the courage to accept. She steps forward, her tall figure casting a long shadow on the stone floor. Jaime, with a ceremonial grace, knights Brienne. He speaks the ancient words, his voice echoing in the silent room. As he taps her shoulders with the sword, a tradition as old as the Seven Kingdoms itself, Brienne transforms from a warrior into a knight. The room erupts in applause, the tension giving way to celebration. Brienne, Sir Brienne of Tarth, stands tall, her face glowing with pride and joy. It's a touching moment, one that deepens the bond between her and Jaime, their shared respect blossoming into something more. In the solemn quietude of Winterfell's crypts, amidst the stone effigies of the Stark ancestors, a revelation of monumental significance unfolds. Jon Snow, the supposed bastard of Winterfell, stands before Daenerys Targaryen, the Dragon Queen, his face a mask of resolve. Jon, his voice echoing off the stone walls, reveals his true parentage to Daenerys. He speaks of Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen, of secret weddings and hidden identities. He tells her that he is not Jon Snow but Aegon Targaryen, the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. Daenerys, her face a whirlwind of emotions, listens in stunned silence. The implications of Jon's revelation are far-reaching, threatening to upend the delicate balance of power. Yet in this moment, it's the personal betrayal that cuts the deepest, the realization that the man she loves has a stronger claim to the throne she covets. Their intense conversation is abruptly interrupted by the distant sound of horns. The haunting notes echo through the crypts, a chilling announcement of the arrival of the Night King's army. The revelation, the tension, the personal turmoil, all are swept aside by the immediate threat. Jon and Daenerys rush out of the crypts, their faces hardened by the imminent battle. As they join the others on the battlements, their eyes meet one last time, their shared secret adding another layer of complexity to their relationship. The episode ends with a chilling shot of the army of the dead, a sea of blue-eyed monsters standing ominously outside Winterfell. The stage is set for the battle, the tension palpable, the stakes higher than ever.
There may